Hi, it's Cindy Fodor here with Stamp the Love, and it is Make It Monday. And this is the second Monday of the month. It happens to be Valentine's Day. So if you're not catching me live tonight because of Valentine's Day, that's perfectly okay if you're out with your sweetie. But I am not coming live tonight. This is pre-recorded live. So I hope that you will enjoy these projects. These projects are the ones that I have done at class this month, and you can get them as well when you place a $40 order online or more. And you know it's celebration still, so you can, if you bump it up to 50, you can get a free celebration item. So don't forget about that. I don't have a countdown drawing tonight because we haven't had any change in that. But if you were here last week, you'll remember that I demoed a really fun background card. And it's so popular that my ladies want to do it at class next month. But I did a drawing for that tonight before I got on here. And I used random.org. There were 53 comments and shares. It was wonderful, ladies. I really appreciate that. So I just wanted to let you know that Debbie Shelley is the winner of this card, so she will get this in the mail. So thank you so much for playing, and I appreciate when you share my videos, when you comment on them. It really helps me to get out there a little bit. All right, so are you ready to start? I'm going to try to work really fast, but show you some really cool scenery stamps that we have in the catalog this year, and I've just been having so much fun with them, and I decided to do all scenery cards this month. So, all right, so get ready. I'm going to switch over to my other camera, and we are going to get started. Okay, the first card that I want to show you tonight is this front flap card, and this is how it opens. We're using some of the New Horizons designer paper. Let me just grab the stamp set here. This On the Horizon stamp set and bundle is what we're using. We'll use a few of the dies that are in here. So let's get started. Let's see, I forgot to grab my pieces. Okay, here are the pieces. So here is the piece of the New Horizons paper, and we're using Misty Moonlight as our base, and we're also using it as the part of the front flap. I've got a few of the die cut pieces like I told you, and then I have two, these are, let me just tell you here, these are 4 3/4 by 2 1/2. Yeah, 2 1/2. Now, I used two different thicknesses. I used the basic white, and I'm using the, this is basic white here. You can see it folds a little bit easier. And I'm using the thick white for the inside of my card. Now, I want to tell you the reason why. I wanted a little more sturdiness to the back of this card. And the reason I didn't use it on here is because we're going to be embossing this, and I feel like the basic white gives me a little more depth when I emboss. So, I'm going to put this one aside for a second. I'm also using my Stamparatus. I'm going to just grab that out here real quick. And what I did was I cut these pieces out for everybody. And it's easy for me to line this up, stick this in the slot, and then I can just, I see we didn't clean it when we used it last. And then I can just close that and get my image stamped. Okay? And I don't typically leave this on when I store it. It's not away for storage yet, but I do have my magnet right here. You see it's catching a little bit so that it's not putting any pressure on the joint here. And that's really important when you have this closed, to make sure that this is not pushing down and putting pressure on the hinge. Okay, now a couple things I want to do with this. I'm going to go ahead and grab it for here. I'm going to go ahead and just grab a sponge. These are our old sponges. And I just want to add a little bit of, I want to get rid of the whiteness. And when we go to layer everything together, you'll see why I don't really want this white. I want it to stand out from the background. But I also want that blue stamping to show well. Okay, so we've got a little bit of that on. I'm going to need that color later. The other colors that I'm using are Evening Evergreen. I'm going to go ahead and open that one. Flip these around so that we can see those. And then I'm also using Old Olive. Okay. The next piece that I have is this little grassy piece. It's got a little piece of shad in there yet. I'm going to stamp this with the grass image. You'll see that they do not go together. They are not meant to go together. They're meant to be used separately. But I like that when I stamp this over that image, I get a grassy look. And I might just come down here with a little more grass. Now, that looks like not much yet. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take some of the Old Olive, and I'm going to go over this. Again, I want to get rid of the white, and I want to really see this whole image of grass. I'm going to turn this Old Olive, but because I didn't use the Old Olive cardstock, you can really see the stamp design as well. Okay, so now I have sort of grass within the grass, so it gives it an extra grassy look. The next thing we're going to do is stamp our front piece. I want to make sure I have the right one here. Yeah, okay. It's really sometimes hard to tell what you, just by looking at them you can't tell, but usually by bending them you can tell which is the most firm. I'm going to use the bird stamp, and have to make sure that the birds, there's a couple of them that you can tell if they're upside down or not. I'm going to stamp that up here at the top. And the same stamp and the same ink, I'm going to ink again. And I'm just going to lay this here where I want it to be so that I can figure out about where I want this grass. I want it to be just behind here. I want to just be able to cover that a little bit. And I'm just going to clean these really quick because we're finished. Well, actually, that's not true. We're not finished with this one. While I have that one in my hand, I just want to add it to carry through to the inside piece. And we're just going to stamp it here at the bottom. Now I've finished with that one. All right. One more thing for the front of our card, and then before we put it together, we're going to emboss it. So I have the Thinking of You, which is from this same set, and I'm going to ink that in Misty Moonlight. Misty Moonlight, by the way, is an in color, and it will be going out in April. So if you haven't gotten enough of the ink, paper, and refills, please, please, please do not wait another minute, because they will start selling out really soon, because Stampin' Up! Will not refurnish those. Oops, sorry, dropped the stamp. Once they start selling out, okay? So it's not, it's, as far as I know, unless they do a I forget what the term is called, where they move the colors around and that type of thing. As far as I know, I don't know anything about that yet, whether that's going to happen, but I'm nervous because it's about time for that to happen. It happens about every 5 years, where they look at our colors, they look at our wonderful ink colors that have gone out, and they decide whether or not we need a refresh, it's called. Okay, so this is how that's going to go together. Let's go ahead and emboss this. I'm going to grab, I'm going to put these pads away, and then we'll run that through the embossing folder, and we'll be ready to put it all together. Okay, so now we're ready to use this embossing folder, and I was sure I was going to remember the name of it, guys. And let me just look it up here really quick, because you need to know it is really a nice embossing folder. It is called, is it in the mini catalog? I forget. It must be in the mini, and I don't have that in here. It's called something grunge or something. It's got some words in it. It has a little bit of grunge. It's just a really cool embossing folder. Sorry, I thought I knew what that was, and I don't. So I'm going to stick that in here, and I'm going to, this is one of our 3D embossing folders. So what you need to know is that with that, you need just plate 1, which is the plate. That's going to go on here. I'm going to make sure my fold goes through the machine this direction. And the next plate that I need is plate 4, which is a gray plate. I'm missing that right now because I left it at somebody's house. So I'm using our old purple plate, which also works as plate 4 if you have that from the old one. When we still had Sizzix things. All right, so let's run that through the machine. Okay, and here's what we have. Hopefully, I know white shows up terribly with my camera, but hopefully you can see how cool that looks now. All right, so we're ready to put that together. I am just going to layer a few things on here and use my adhesive, which is right here. Didn't know for a second where that might have gotten to. All right, and we're going to use some green glue here. Keep losing my sample. And I don't need a lot on here. I just want to get a couple of these strands glued down. And then this one. Okay, now let's go ahead and glue a few things together. I'll let that sit a second to dry. I do have this scored. I gave you the measurements for this. For this piece, this is 5 1/4 by 2 3/4. No, I'm sorry. It's 2 and, yeah, I said this is 2 1/2. This is just a hair larger. It's 2 5/8. And then I scored it at 1/4. I wish I had left it a little longer so that I could make this a little bit wider so I could use my adhesive on it. Because I can't, I'm going to just use my green glue on here. And oops, before I stick that down, there was one more step I had to do before I could stick that. I need to put this on my back piece here. And again, I'm using Seal Plus, so I don't need a ton of it. I just want to get all the corners and a little bit in the center there. And I just cut it down a little bit so that there's a blue outline here. Now this is going to go right here in the center. And I'm just going to press that piece down. Make sure I have that nice and straight where I want it. Centered. Scoot it just a little. And I'll hold that down just for a second. While I'm holding that, if you can use it with hands, I'm going to go ahead and put adhesive. This is the piece of thick white that I'm using for the inside where you will put your greeting. And I'm going to just glue that right here on this flap that I glued down. And it's going to go right under that. I'm going to make sure I don't have that over quite far enough. Okay. All right, so there's our inside. Now we're ready to finish the outside. This should be good and dry. Let's go ahead and get this glued on. Because this is embossed, I'm going to put a little more adhesive on here because you know that tends to buckle your paper a little bit. So I'm going to just add a little more. I'm being very gentle because you know how this can pull off right there, it tried to pull it up a little bit, so I was being very gentle as I was putting that adhesive on there. Okay. All right, there we go. Last we need is a piece of linen thread, and we are going to wrap this around here twice. And then I will just tie that. So I wrap it twice. I get enough to tie a bow, but not too much because I don't want to waste it. And I can get it out from under this fence for a second. I'm going to just cross this, take it under both of these pieces. All right, now I can make my bow. Sometimes you feel like you have 5 thumbs, right? All right. How about you guys? Do you love tying bows? I think a lot of us don't mind tying a bow, but sometimes tying it on a card is much more difficult, right? Do you agree with that? It's because you have to hold everything in place so it doesn't get loose and all that stuff. Okay, so there's that. We have one more thing, guys, and this is the coolest part. You guys know that we have these lovely pebbles. Now, I will tell you that we are sold out right now, but they are coming back, and I think I saw maybe early March. I'm not positive about that, but it won't be too long. So don't give up. If you didn't get them yet, you will still be able to get them. You can see I've used a lot of them. So I'm going to just use 3 different ones, and you can use whatever you want, but you will see how cool these are. And I'm just going to pop them here at the base of my little sand dune. They don't slip off as easily as regular pearls and that type of thing do. So you might have to get your pokey part out and use that to just pry underneath it. Make sure that you pick the adhesive up with so you don't lose anything. And we'll just place those on there, press them down good, and just look how cool that little texture is. I just think these are the best. I'm so glad that Stampin' Up! Is venturing out into some new things that we can try. And for my class, you'll see that this paper, I'm going to see this is a different paper than this one. And there's quite a few that I could use as this background. Just because they look like an ocean and a mountain and different things. It's just really easy to work with. So I love this paper. So grab that before it's sold out too. Okay. Let me just scoot these aside. We'll get to our next card. Okay, so our next card is this one. Isn't that a beautiful? Again, we're using the New Horizons paper, and I'm using Pale Papaya as my base, and then of course Basic Black. Here is the stamp set and the dies. This is the die that I used to cut out that background, and the stamp set is called Grassy Grove, so it has the stamps and dies together. Now, because I wanted a tiny saying on here, there weren't any tiny sayings in this, as you can see. They're all a little bit larger. So you could either make your tag a little bit larger, but I decided to pull out through it together because you know how much I love the stamp set. So we're going to use that as our stamp, and then we're going to use Champagne Gems. All right, so let's go ahead. This is really quick and easy, so we're going to fly through this one. I'm going to fold this in half. This is just 8.5 by 5.5. And for this piece, I'm going to make sure there's no little pieces in here yet. There's one little one. And I am just, this is how easy this is, guys. Just going to add a little bit of green glue on this very outside edge. I'm not worried if my trees stick up because that's going to make it look even more 3D. And then I just determine where I want this, and this looks more like a base, so I'm going to put that at the bottom. And then I see one little dot that I missed here. Let's just poke him out of there. There we go. Okay, make sure that's glued down good. It's not straight, but it doesn't matter. It's not going to show. And then we can go ahead and just put our adhesive on here. And we can stick this on our base. And boom, almost done. Okay, I have a bunch of deer cut out, so we're going to grab a large one and a small one. And we're going to stick those on. Now you don't need to put dimensions on them. However, if you love dimension, you can go ahead and put, you can probably get a baby dimensional on the big one. I'm going to put 2 right here. And then I think for the little one, I'm just going to glue him down. The thing with this is you don't want to hide the deer in the trees. You want it to stand out. So you have to just be a little careful where you put him, or he will be hidden with all of the black in the silhouette. And then we'll just put the baby here behind the mama. All right, we are almost finished. Let's grab our tag. I just have a strip of paper here, and I'm gonna make a let's see. You are capable of great things. I have a card I need to send to a sweet neighbor girl who needs encouragement. So let's do that. See if I can stamp this straight. I'm using Memento. It looks like this is a good time to grab your scrap paper, something that has a straight edge on it, and just do a test, sort of how you think it would be straight. And it's not too bad, so I think I can eyeball it pretty good. We'll see. I'm terrible at stamping straight. And it seems like this paper doesn't want to lay flat. Okay, thank goodness. Turned out. All right, I'm just going to clean that real quick. All right, now you can just do a snip snip. You can grab your stamp that does all of the labels, or if you have the old tag punch, it makes this little tag, but if you stick it in here like this, I know a lot of you have this and love it when I pull this out, so I decided to pull this out for this class. And it gives you this perfect little tag look, and because I'm usually using the other one for something, so it's nice to have 2 of these. And I'm just going to glue that right flat there. I am not going to pop that up because we are going to add some champagne rhinestones to that. And do I want that over the deer's legs or under? I guess I want it over. I'm going to scoot that over here a little bit. Make sure it's straight. And as soon as that's dry, I'll trim that off. I'm going to wait till it's dry because I keep moving it. All right, so let me grab the champagne. They're called champagne-based rhinestone basic jewels. And I hate to tell you, it seems like everything I decide to use. These were on low inventory. I am not positive if they are available right this second, but they will be back if they're not. But like I said, they were on low inventory. So be sure to check and see if they're available. There's 3 sizes. You can see the large, medium, and small, and I love that. I love when there's a couple sizes to choose from. Trying to think where I want to put this. I sort of don't want to put it under his feet because I don't want it to look like he is pooping rhinestones or something. I should say she because that's the mama. All right. Okay, so there we go. Let's get this trimmed off now that that's nice and dry. Okay, so there we go. Quick and easy, right? If you like fast, man, this set is the way to go. All right, let's skip to the next one. Okay, here is our next card. This is a beach scene. We are going to be using the stamp set Oceanfront. That gives you a glare. And the colors I'm using are Coastal Cabana and Whisper White. We're adding in some Bermuda Bay for our words, and we're using Early Espresso. I guess you can't see those. Early Espresso, Crumb Cake, Mossy Meadow, Coastal Cabana, and some, this one's dirty, some Balmy Blue. All right, so this one you can see there's a lot of inks, there's a lot of stamps, but I want to show you how quick and easy you can create a gorgeous scene. Relax and enjoy your day. I can't remember what stamp set that came from. Pretty sure it's one we just used. And then we have all of these pieces for our scene, and I'm just going to lay those all out here. I've got some grass, and I also have some of our crumb cake twine that comes in the assorted pack. Okay, so you can get different colors there. All right, let's put this aside. And we're using almost every stamp that's in here. I think the only one is this big grass and the little speckles, which we could add the speckles, but this card did not need that. We're also adding the bird stamp from the On the Horizon stamp set. So I wish there was a bird stamp in here, but if you have both, you can use that. Or you can go to, if you have the Lighthouse stamp set, there's a birds flying in that one. So you probably have some birds if you don't have that other stamp set. All right, so we've got our background done. We're going to go ahead and stamp on here. I don't need any scrap paper because we're stamping right in the card. I'm going to start with the squarest stamp, and we're going to ink that in Balmy Blue. And you want to make sure, the other thing that you want to do is make sure you have your piercing mat. We are stamping with very large, let's hope mine's here somewhere. We're stamping with very large photopolymer stamps, and when you do that, they do not stamp easily without using the piercing mat. So let me just grab that, pop that in place. All right, I'm going to keep this up towards the top. We're going to build from the top down. So there's my first image. Finished with that color, so let's go ahead and get rid of that. The next one is our Coastal Cabana. And I feel like I'm missing a block here for some reason. And that's this one. So this is somewhat the ocean. And I'm going to just try to overlap them a little bit. It's hard to see from my angle here. There we go. Finished with that color. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. My next color is Crumb Cake. And I'm using this little stamp. And these stamps can be different things. I'm not going to even describe what they are. I'm using this as sand, and I'm using the smoothest side here. The other side could be Great Mountains, right? You could see mountains with that. But I'm doing it this direction to look more like a sand dune. And we're just going to do 2 of those right here together. All right, and we're finished with that color. All right, next we're going to grab Early Espresso. We're going to do a little pile of rocks here. And they're going to go just in this little corner here. All right. And I'm finished with that color. And then I have the two smaller grasses. So I'm going to use the larger one first. I'm going to ink these both in Mossy Meadow. And I'm just going to, there's a little edge to the grass here. I'm going to just put that right next to the rock. So it sort of hides it. And then this one will go right next to that one. They look like almost one stamp when you do that together. And one more stamp for the base, and that is the birds. And we're going to do them, you can do them in the brown. I'm going to grab a Memento here and do these in the sky section that we created. Okay, there we go. All right, so we have the background finished. I'm going to let that sit and dry for a second while we stamp our tag. And we're going to do that in Bermuda Bay. Get my head in here so I can see if it's straight. Okay, I could have had that down a little bit. And I'm going to tie a piece of this around here and just tie this in a bow. Let's go ahead and do that. The reason I'm letting that dry is because if you do it too quickly after you stamp it, you will transfer some of that ink onto your embossing folder. And if you're not careful to clean it after you're finished, you'll surprise yourself, and you'll probably remember I've done that before. So I'm only I learn these things when I screw up, right? And let's go ahead and put our dimensionals on the back of this a while. We're going to, and hang with me, guys. I know this is the last card I have to show you, but I'm excited to show you my scrapbook page. I'm not going to design, I'm just going to show you the finished thing. Because I did a waterfall cascading place to put cards, and I think it's so cool. So I want to show you that. All right, let me set this over here so I don't stick anything to that. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to run this through. I actually pulled out an old embossing folder. This is the subtle embossing folder. I still love it. I kept it. In fact, I might have even bought myself a second one because I love it so much. It looks like linen. And this is an old thick one. This is even thicker than our 3D. So you will want to just use one of the clear plates number 3 with this one. So that's a layout that we don't have right now because we don't carry these thicker ones. We only have 2 layers. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to put this on this background again, so hopefully you can see. I did it the wrong direction. Oh well. I meant to do it so that the lines were going this way, but I did them this way. I don't like that nearly as much, so this is how they should look. You can see it there on the edge a little bit better. All right, but the person that receives this isn't going to know that unless it's one of you, right? All right, so I'm ready to go ahead and glue this down. Again, I have the paper embossed. Being really careful. The Seal Plus likes to grab the paper. It's a very heavy adhesive. It means it's going to stay, your card's going to stay stuck together when you put it together, okay? So it's a good thing. You just have to learn how to be gentle with it. Once you get it in place and press it down, it's going to stay there. And then it's sort of hard to know where to put this because all of the card looks so cool that you don't want to cover any of it. So I'm going to just scoot it over here so that you can still see where that meets up. And there we have a really quick, it took a little time to get all the ink pads opened and closed, but if you wanted to make like 10 of these, you could do it very quickly because it's just stamping. There's no coloring to it. All right, so I'm not going to take the time to get this put away, but I'm going to grab my scrapbook page that I would show you. And I hope that the light doesn't make this too difficult. Let me just zoom out here a second. and you can see my whole messy table. So this is my layout. So I'm using mint macaron. I'm using some soft succulent designer paper because that's what I had. So the designer paper is from the soft succulent collection. I'm using I wanted to use our beautiful slimline envelopes as a background for this page to make it look like this is pulling out of my envelope. But check out this cascading photo album that I created for a bunch of pictures. Sometimes one layout isn't enough to put all of your gorgeous pictures on. So I hope you enjoyed that. If any of you want to learn how to do this, let me know. I will do a tutorial on that if you would like to learn how to do that. I will tell you that this is the longest that I could make it, because when you pull this through, if you look here at the end, you'll see that this comes the whole way down to here. Okay, so that determined how long I could make that. Of course, there's other things you could do differently, but yeah. All right, so thank you for joining me. Don't forget to share this video. Don't forget to comment and let me know what you enjoyed the most. And I will be back next Monday with another fun tutorial for you. Take care.